Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my talking about the lands, legends, planes, and planeswalkers of Magic the Gathering, introducing you to the world settings and the various things that are important and interesting to know about. In this week, I'm introducing you to a new plane, the Kamigawa plane. Now, this plane is highly influenced by Japanese culture and was the setting of the Kamigawa block. The plane is positioned farther away from any of the other planes, so it is the most farthest distance from every one of them. And everything in the world is based around the interaction between mortals and the kami, the spirits of the world. So the general interaction between the two of them is the most important thing. Now, during the Kamigawa block, we saw a massive war break out between the kami and the mortals. Effectively, Okagachi, the supreme kami, part of him was stolen, and so this war was waged in order to reclaim it. A war between Usushio, the land of the mortals, and Nekai, the realm of the spirits. The interaction between those two worlds happens to make up what is Kamigawa, so war between them was dire indeed. Now, the kami themselves are embodiments of concepts or essences in the world. If one becomes corrupted, it becomes known as an oni. And the most supreme versions of the kami, one representing each mana color, is the Myojin. In the basic storyline of the series, Kondo, Lord of Iganjo, was the one that stole the part of the supreme kami. So it was he, a mortal, that started the war. And unfortunately, the war wasn't going well for mortals in general because kamis, when they're defeated, they return. Mortals do not. It was up to Michinko Kondo and a group of others that she united, eventually defeated the leaders of both sides and ended the war. Now, for hundreds of years, the kami and the mortals had gotten along before then, and mortals had worshipped them almost as spirits and divine beings during this time. So there was no concept of them turning against them ever. They would never understand that. So when the kami began to materialize on the mortal realm, people were unsure about it. They didn't know what was going on because kami were alien and strange, and they were unable to communicate with them or understand what was going on. So at first when they appeared, it was like, are they a messenger for something? Is something going on? That is when the war started. The war was terrible because Kondo had stolen that part and began it. He wished to become immortal, so he stole that part, retreated to his castle, and the war began, that the kami began attacking, and it lasted for 20 years. During this time, no one knew that Kondo was the source of it. They only thought that his palace and his kingdom were somewhat protected by some other source, and unfortunately, it was just that the other kami were having a difficulty approaching the thing he had stolen. It was eventually up to his daughter, Michiko, who was the one that stopped the Great War. She turned against her father and prevented these horrible atrocities from continuing that had ravaged the land from the various kami, from the war from the kami that had been caused by her father. Now, there are 5 main terrains in Kamigawa. Each one matches to one of the basic land types. Each one is also guarded by a dragon spirit that guards the land and protects the mortals that live there as a guardian of them. A guardian spirit dragon that protects the mortals there. The lands are Toabara, an area of plains where Iganjo was located, Minamo Academy on an island, Takekuna, a swamp, the Sokenza Mountains, the largest mountain range in all of Kamigawa, and Junkai Forest. So each one of them is representing a different land and effectively has their own government system and different beings that live there. So the inhabitants' plains, of course, humans. They're one of the major inhabitants of the plains and live everywhere. There's the Soratami, or moon folk. There's the Nezumi, or rat folk, the ogres, who are worshippers of Oni, the Aki, which is the plains take on the goblin, so it is a type of goblin, the Orochi, a race of serpent folk, and the Kitsune, a race of fox folk. So those are all the major races that appear in Kamigawa. So there is one planeswalker from Kamigawa, Tamiyo. She is a Soratami planeswalker, and she is the only known planeswalker so far from this plane. So that's it for today. I talked about the plane of Kamigawa. I went over some of the basic history of it that really we only know, much of the history we know about is from the Kamigawa block which came out. And I talked about the people there, some of the locations that exist within Kamigawa, and of course then the brief history that we talked about. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Shows your support for the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.